Hello, I'm Laurie Wehring, and you're listening to Art Talk, the podcast bringing you news about the New Braunfels arts and talent industry during the COVID-19 pandemic. Each week, we'll feature Jason Irle, Executive Director of the Mid-Texas Symphony, Cheryl Fisher, Executive Director at the Braunfels Theater, and we'll feature special guests representing local arts and tourism organizations to share how they're being affected and some messages of positivity. This week, we're talking to Judy Young, Vice President of the New Braunfels Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is a division of the New Braunfels Chamber of Commerce. So Jason, you've been blowing and going over at the Mid-Texas Symphony. How are your ticket sales looking, and what does your reopening strategy look like today?
Our ticket sales are doing well, and as good to be expected with everything that's going on. When comparing our numbers to some other regional orchestras around the state, we're on par. As far as reopening, right now we're waiting on guidance from our partnering institutions, Texas Lutheran University, Comal ISD, a few others, to give us some insight as to what we'll be able to present and do. Right now, we're still 100% a go, and in this business, you're 100% until you're not. So our reopening strategy is, looking forward to September.
That's great. I really, really hope that September kicks everything off with Scheherazade. So Judy, I was talking in April with some hotelier friends who, of course, had been affected by the shutdown and lack of people staying in their hotels. Can you talk to us a little bit about how things are looking now in June?
Well, thanks for having me. The hotel industry for us moving forward is on a steady climb back to some decent occupancy levels. We are, working as everyone is to adjust to the new recommendations that come out sometimes twice a week. And we're working with the Texas Hotel and Lodging Association to provide some really great guidance and webinars for our lodging partners. We've had about 3 of those in the span of 45 days. So I think it's looking pretty good, and advanced bookings are making a rebound.
That's so great. It's great to hear and positive. Some of the major attractions like Natural Bridge Wildlife and Natural Bridge Caverns have been open for a bit now, and Schlitterbahn just opened back up. How are they doing?
Well, so far we are seeing nice increases. It's a cautionary increase. Everyone has put in place all of the PPE that's required, and their employees are all wearing masks, and they've just every day they've created a new product to fulfill the requirements and to try to be reopened and to try to get their employees back as well. That's as big a challenge as anything is right. The employee side of the table. But the Wildlife Ranch has a little bit of an advantage because you are in your own car, and their visitation has been better than expected because of that element, and they've changed a little bit of their operations. So far so good. I was at Schlitterbahn and did the walkthrough with them on what their plan was, and I'm sure they will tweak it as they go, but I thought they were extremely prepared to open under the circumstances.
Schlitterbahn, all of those are very big places, and I'm sure they're taking every precaution to keep people safe, and I'm excited that they're opening, and I'm glad that the Natural Bridge Wildlife Ranch is still doing tours. That's really cool, and it's fun to get the kids out of the house now, especially with everything going on. Judy, thank you again for being here and joining us today. I've been looking forward to our conversation because I want to know about the 175th anniversary and, what's going on with that given, COVID-19 and everything that's happened. So how has the pandemic affected the celebration to this point?
Well, we were right. We were starting all of our events, major events outside of the New Year's Eve Gala and the Simultoast. They were all set to be rolling out the day. We actually canceled events starting on the Friday before the first big event of that Founders Week. So it was, the timing could not have been worse, but we we've kind of regrouped and we're rescheduling for this coming March. Same rollout as before on those events. And, it's not unprecedented for this to happen in our 25th anniversary celebrations. It happened in 1945. During the war, they postponed until 1946. So we're trying really hard to get everything in before we turn 176, which will be Founders Day, March next year.
Judy, talk to us a little bit about all of the planning and coordinating that went into the initial design of the celebration prior to COVID. Like, how long has this been in the works?
Well, we've actually started working on this in 2015. So 5 years, yeah. 5 years with over 300 volunteers and over 250 sponsors. And we had hundreds and hundreds of meetings, and we had a great partnership, or still have a great partnership with the city of New Braunfels, and having events in the parks. And it's taken a lot from the creative concept of the Since 1845 program and marketing to getting those highway gateway signs completed actually during the COVID-19 event. So we were on a crunch. It was a crush to get that done, and because we told our sponsors that those gateway projects would be completed.
They're just beautiful. They're just beautiful.
And Judy, so what is it about the narrative of the founding of New Braunfels that you really wanted to highlight in the celebration? What about it were the key elements? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I think the key elements of New Braunfels and its culture is that we've always had that kind of edict of we work hard so that we can play, and we take care of our neighbors, and we always have. And so those traditions and kind of underlying fabric of the community are still in place today. And we need to make sure that those folks new to our community understand that fabric is the basis of why they love us, and that they're going to be invested in that. So making sure that people are volunteering in the nonprofit world. We have more nonprofits per capita than any other county in Texas. Some of them are well over 100 years old. And it's just a culture of active citizenry. I think if you're going to really get it in New Braunfels, you have to engage. You can't just be on the outside of the window looking in, or you're missing all the good bits if you do.
Totally agree with that.
Back in I think it was September of last year. Wow, I think time is flying. Akiko, our music director, and I visited the Sophienberg, and we were doing research because we are presenting a concert this October called New Braunfels 1845 that celebrates and is a gift to the city of New Braunfels to celebrate this milestone. And when we were looking through some of the archives there, Judy, we found actual programs from arts events from 1845 and earlier. It was amazing to see that we have that rich artistic tradition in our community even today. That I think that this is going to segue right into what Cheryl wants to talk about, which is the arts industry in general. But before we get to that, are there any plans for the remainder of the year should restrictions get lifted? Or I know you touched on next March, but
we don't have any plans for the remainder of this year, just trying to respect all of the nonprofit events that had to reschedule. We saw that the fall was going to be getting pretty busy, very busy, and we wanted to make sure that we didn't take away from any of those activities with the burdens that those organizations had already encountered. So we really have moved everything that's left in the program to next spring. And we're excited about it. One of the big reasons why we did that was because we had an overwhelming response to the Founders Day Parade. We had almost 80 participants that were non-commercial and supportive and themed to support the 175 years of New Braunfels. And it was just going to be too hard to reschedule those people and then reschedule them again and reschedule them again. So we just moved to March, and I'm pretty excited about it. We have some great floats, and I think it'll be an easier go around this time because we're not scrambling to try to get floats finished. They're done.
Exactly. That's great. That's great. Well, talking about arts and fitting into 1845, with the completion of the latest mural from the Historic Outdoor Art Museum, the Art of Entertainment mural, and even on the restoration of the Seeley mural, of course, Seeley having history deep in arts as well. How did the arts industry fit into the 1845 celebration and in the overall future planning with CVB and Chamber Long Range?
Well, I think that it's not really, I don't really look at it as segmented out. I think that arts and culture, heritage, performances, music was such a vital part of the founding of our community that it's always played a critical role in uniting a diverse population through the international languages of presentation art and performance art. There's no language barrier typically with those two sources of delivery of entertainment. And it's so important to be able to bridge that language barrier or the way people receive information. I mean, there's so many opportunities to not get your entertainment in person that I think it makes those times when you can get that entertainment in person that much more critical. You can't relay the emotion and the vibrancy and the energy in any other format. I think that it's critical for the true impact of the emotion, for it to continue to be a huge part of the CVB toolbox of attractions and entertainment and performances and festivals. It's just, I think it's so crucial that it's just an element that's always woven in, and it's woven into all the festivals. I mean, virtually every single festival we have is arts and music.
It crosses all boundaries, all cultures. It's for everyone. It is a truly for everyone fit. So in general, anything promising or exciting on the horizon once this is passed?
I think that once this is passed, we will have the opportunity to look at the way we do performances with a new set of lenses. So maybe there doesn't have to be a venue that can handle 3,000 people. Maybe it's more valuable to people to be in a smaller venue that might have a different price point. They may think that that's more of what they'd like to do. We may have the opportunity to retool about how we deliver, food and beverage service at different venues or different performances. I think that it'll be a new day, and I guess the silver lining is that now you can be out of the box without meeting as much resistance as you would if this had not happened. Before this happened, people didn't like it when you changed the way things were done. There was a lot of major resistance, and now I think there's a flexibility there that we haven't had before. So I'm expecting all my folks, arts, culture, attractions, lodging, to take advantage of that opportunity to really do it in a way that surprises people and makes them want to come back.
Very true. Very true. We're all in this. It's different for everybody. Hasn't missed anyone. It's touched every life, every business, and so we are at least have a common thread in that issue.
We do, and I think people they're part of the process. I mean, our guests are, for probably the first time in a very long time, they are 50% partners in how their experience turns out. And I don't think that's been the case before. People just expected you to just deliver their happiness and deliver their experience. And I think now more than ever, there is a personal responsibility of a guest or a shopper or anyone else to take on 50% of the responsibility for how that experience turns out. Very different paradigm.
So a follow-up question, are you hearing any specific message from tourists or people in general? I know that we have 3/3 of people. 1/3 is like, we just want to get back. We just want to enjoy. Let's get back to normal. We have another third that says, no, we're going to wait till there's a vaccine. Then we have another third that just says, we don't know what we want to do. Mm-hmm. We're in limbo.
Yeah, the national research and the state research says we're at 25, 25, 25, and 25. It's quartered up. There's 25% of the people that are not going to go anywhere. There's 25% of the people who are not going to go if there's extra things that they have to do to be able to travel. And then the other two sets of 25% are, I'll go as long as you have all your parameters in place and I feel confident about it. And then this last 25% is, I'm coming. I can't stay in here anymore. I'm not going to hang out here anymore. So, trying to deliver a product to, where whatever product you're delivering is going to be not what 75% of the people are expecting is very difficult. And the amount of resources that a business has to expend to even be open is incredible. And I just don't think that if you don't own a business and you haven't had to deal with the cost of that, it's you really don't understand it.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that there is going to be a lot of pent up demand once this is all, starting to clear up. I know that New Braunfels as a destination is always in demand, but even, with all the restrictions stopping people from coming, in this, I guess, standstill, I think people are going to be ready to come back. And I'm excited to be a part of that resurgence when it does happen.
Yeah, we're experiencing a bit of it already, and I think you're right. I think we will be rolling very well before many other communities in Texas, which is pretty much the case for us, regardless of what the event is. So high water, low water, all kinds of different events, economic recessions. We typically have performed and outperformed the major metroplexes in our recovery. Our dip hasn't been as low. So, I don't know that it prepared us for this, but we typically respond well.
You're right, Judy. We always have historically, especially during the economic downturn of 2008. We weren't hit in the same way that the rest of the country was. And I think over and over, we're very fortunate to be here in New Braunfels, and we love this town. Thank you all for joining me today. And thanks, listeners, for joining us for Art Talks. We'll be posting new episodes weekly on Thursdays featuring local arts organizations. If you have any questions, you can email us at arttalks@mtsymphony.org. Thanks again for listening, and we'll be back next week.